My enemy's enemy is my friend. Thus India, which for many years was distinctly unfriendly to Israel, has now full military cooperation with the Jewish state. Israel supplies India with night fighting equipment, drones, Soltam artillery, upgrades its Soviet-era tanks and MiGs, and together they develop ballistic missiles and neutron bombs. The Indians permitted the Israelis to test fire from their Dolphin submarines, the Israelis' 1,000-mile range nuclear-tipped Popeye turbo cruise missiles from off the Indian coast. Israel sold its precious Arrow anti-missile system-derived green pine radar systems, deploying them in the Kashmir mountains, and which now are being at this moment used by the Indians to detect at launch up to a range of 500 miles away ballistic missiles by the Pakistanis. Seemingly there could not be two more dissimilar faiths than that of the pure monotheism of Judaism, Yahadut, compared to the polytheism of Hinduism. Yet, as it says in the Torah in Bereshit 25, Hapilagshim asher Avraham nasan Avraham matanos vayashalchem me'al Yitzchak beno bo'odenu chai mikedem el eretz kedem. To the sons of his concubines Avraham gave gifts, and he sent them away kedem to the east, me'al Yitzchak beno, away from his son Yitzchak. On which the Nishmas Chaim states, Abraham sent them east to where? To India, where they disseminated his teachings. The Brahmins, a priestly caste of Hinduism, deriving from the name Abraham, are his descendants. The Brahmins are descendants of Abraham, says the Nishmas Chaim, and they were the first to spread his faith in India. In his work From Hinduism Back to Judaism, based on the experiences of Balei Tshuva who had spent time in India, Rabbi Matisyahu Glazerson shows that there are many themes common to both faiths: the importance of Hisbodedus, solitude; Hismononus, meditation; Anova, humbleness; Gilgul, reincarnation, referred to by the Hindus as karma, the study of the harmony and rhythmicity of nature; the importance of numinism. Numinism is the science and art of correct breathing and respiration, very important. See the works Meditation in the Bible and Meditation in the Kabbalah by Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan. But unfortunately, the sons of Keturah also took with them the powers of Tumah, magic, witchcraft, and divination, says the Zohar. And in the course of time, India became corrupted by Avodah Zorah. The Abarbanel notes that of the 4 rivers that coursed out of Gan Eden, the Garden of Eden, the Greeks identified the river Pishon with the river Ganges in India, and that the land of Chavila, which the Torah states is where the gold is also located in India. Yosipom reported that astronomical knowledge related to Seth, the son of Adam, Shes ben Odom Arishon, given to him by the Molech Uriel, the angel Uriel, was written on 2 tablets in Hebrew characters which were still extant and visible on an island off India in the times of Alexander the Great. Although India, which in Hebrew is called Hodu, hints at the glory, Hodu in Hebrew also means glory, Hodu hints at the glory of Judaism, we are an Am Lavadad Yishkon, a nation that dwells alone. And although in Israel the Jew cooperates on matters of mutual national survival, we do not seek closeness nor have any desire to sit with any of the Ummas. As we're warned, Vayishalchem me'al Yitzchak bano, he sent them away from his son Yitzchak. The crescent moon on the flag of Pakistan reminds one of the moon worship which was once prevalent in Arabia. Indeed, the moon god was known as Al-Ilah. Hashkocha granted Muhammad some success because he was able to sublimate this moon worship into a form of imageless monotheism, renaming the deity Al-Ilah as Allah. The Islamic symbol of the crescent moon to be seen on their mosques, minarets and flags is a legacy of the ancient moon worship that once flourished in Arabia and the Fertile Crescent. The masterful intercalary Jewish calendar has managed to reconcile so well for so long the three distinct geocentric motions of the solar, the lunar, and the diurnal periods, the year, the month, and the day. As it says in Bereshis 1, V'hayu la'osos u'la'moadim u'la'yomim v'shonim, to be for seasons and for days and years. Ki hi chochmaschem uvinaschem le'enei ha'amim. This is your wisdom and understanding in the eyes of the nations, Dvorim 4, which refers to the calculations of astronomy and lunar and solar calendars. How unlike the calendars of the nations is the Jewish calendar. The Christian calendar has its years correctly calculated, but not the months. The 365 years of the Christian calendar are arbitrarily divided into 12 months, which themselves have no relation to the orbit of the moon. The Muslims, on the other hand, they have correct months in their calendar, but incorrect years. They simply make the 12 lunar months into a year of 354 days, which is 11 short. The result is that their festivals are not bound to the seasons of the year and keep shifting, now to the spring, now to the winter, and then to the summer, which is not exactly conducive to Menuchas HaNefesh, and some hold this as being partly responsible for the volatility of the Muslim character. The whereabouts of the actual Har Sinai, Mount Sinai, where the Torah was given, is still not certain. The worldwide convulsions at the time of Matan Torah caused the Chinese, Hindus, American Indians, Mayans, Greeks, and even Pacific Samoans to all tell of a tumult in heaven and earth around the year 1300 BCE, and they relate of worldwide noise, groaning of the earth, disarrangement of strata, of oceans being thrown up on the continents, of seas being turned into deserts, islands submerging, rivers running upstream, and smoke and vapor enshrouding the entire atmosphere of the earth. As it says in Tehillim 82, Lo yodu v'lo yavinu b'chashecha yisholchu yemotu kol moste oretz. They walk in darkness, all the foundations of the earth are out of course. The divine voice was not heard by the Am Yisrael alone, but by all the earth's inhabitants, and divided itself, says the Gemara, into 70 languages. In particular, the onomatopoeic memory of the sound of the tetragrammaton, the Shem HaMaforesh, Yud-Kei, Vav-Kei, and entered humanity's consciousness. Ke'esh ocheles barosh hahar, like a devouring fire on top of the mountain. V'hahar boer ba'esh ad lev hashamayim choshech anan v'arafel. As it says in Dvorim, the mountain burned with fire into the midst of heaven, with darkness, clouds, and thick smoke. The fire was even more fierce than an atomic fire, says Rav Miller. The Sinai Peninsula and the Arabian Desert, from Palmyra down to Mecca, which is known in the Torah as Mesha in Bereshit 10. Mecca is mentioned in the Chumash, are covered with formations of basalt, lava, and extinguished volcanoes, where once the deserts glowed with the beacons of many volcanoes, melted mountains, and lava flowing from fissures. Not as the vast age uniformitarian evolutionary geologists maintain hundreds of millions of years ago, but within the last thousands of years. Hamabit la'oretz v'tirad yiga behorim v'yeshonu. He looks at the earth and it trembles. He touches the mountains v'yeshonu, and they smoke. Tehillim 104. Horim kadonag namosu. The mountains melt like wax before the Lord. Horim roashu mimenu v'hagvaos hismogagu. The mountains quake at him, and the hills melt. The earth and all therein smoulder before him. Nahum, chapter 1. Hehorim roktu kaelim gvaos kivnei tzaon. When Israel left Egypt, the sea saw and fled. The mountains skipped like rams, the hills like lambs. And as it says in Shmos 19, V'ha Sinai Oshan kulo mipnei asher yorad alav Hashem ba'esh, va'ya'al ashanav ba'ashon hakibshan v'yecherad kol ha'ar ma'od. All of Mount Sinai was smoking because Hashem, the Lord, had descended on it within the fire, and its smoke ascended kibshan, like the smoke of a furnace, and the whole mountain quaked exceedingly. The mountains melt before the Lord, as did Sinai before the God of Israel. It might have been expected that Mount Sinai, Har Sinai, would have been reduced to something like a machtesh. Machtesh is the Hebrew for a mortar grinder. This geological formation is a large, non-meteor impact excoriated depression, and there are only 7 in the world, and it is unique to the Negev and Sinai, the largest being the Machtesh Ramon by the town of Mitzpeh Ramon, stretching 40 kilometers by 10 kilometers with a depth of 500 meters. Vayispotzotzu harrei ad shachu gvaos. The ancient mountains are shattered, mountains of old are sunk low, the hills writhe at your sight. Habakkuk 3. The Zohar relates how Yisrael was unable to subdue the world's strongest Sitra Achra that resided in the Midbar Sinai, where for 40 years Hashem, Hamolichecha b'midbar hagadol v'anora, Nachash, Soraf, v'akrov, v'tzimon asher ein mayim. The Lord led you through the great and terrible wilderness with venomous snakes, scorpions, and drought. Dvorim 8. The Lubavitcher Rebbe warned in 1979 that Israel would sorely regret having ceded Sinai by demolishing its huge air bases and the paradisical city of Yamit, losing a strategic buffer and its vast military training airspace, its tourist potential, and the invaluable Abu Rodeis oil fields. Sinai today has been reinfested by the Clippers, as warned the Zohar, viz. The murderous Jihadist barbarians, and Zechariah 14 foretells that Egypt, who are again refilling Sinai, may yet be the main protagonist before Mashiach, just as it was at the time of the Exodus 3,300 years ago. We await the descent of the heavenly Beis HaMikdash, as it says in Yeshaya, V'haya ba'achris hayomim nachon yihyeh ha Beis Hashem b'rosh ha'orim. In the end of days, ba'achris hayomim, the mountain of the house of Hashem will be established on the top of the mountains, b'rosh ha'orim, which, according to the apocalyptic Sefer Zerubbabel, will include Mount Moriah, Mount Carmel, Mount Hermon, Mount Lebanon, Mount Tabor, and Mount Sinai.